Good day, Hudson Valley. I'm your host, Lisa Caslin, and welcome to our show where we bring you the best of what's happening and who's happening in Putnam, Northern Westchester, and Southern Dutchess. Today we're talking about music, country music specifically, and we have a local musician who people are calling the next great American country music singer. Please welcome Jessica Lynn. And with her is her dad, her manager, her bassist. I don't know, there's too many things to name. Peter Calamera, and United of the Troops founder, Jim Rathschmidt, and we'll explain to you why he's here in a moment. But first, let's start with Jessica. I have to admit, I'm from Queens, New York, and growing up in, I'm not going to mention the year, there wasn't a lot of country music on the radio in my neighborhood. So it's really surprising to me as I was doing a little research that country music is now supplanting top 40 in terms of popularity on the radio. Why do you think that's happening?
The thing that originally drew me to country music was the stories. The country music, it just has a way of connecting with you, with situations that you've been in, with feelings that you've had. And I think America is looking for something like that, something to make them feel good and positive, and that they really can feel something when they're listening to. And I think that's why they have found that in country music.
And I think, do you think that, you know, artists like Taylor Swift and maybe going back, Shania Twain, are kind of crossover? They're sort of like a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll?
Definitely, and I think that's part of their appeal, because if you like any one of those genres, you can find something about those particular artists that you also enjoy.
Yeah. So tell us about your story. How did you arrive here? How did you get at such a young age? What are you, 24?
Yeah.
How did you rise so quickly and get to be a country music singer?
Well, everybody thinks that it was quick, and I am young, but I have been performing professionally and been working really hard at this since 14 years old.
Wow.
At 14, my parents had me out in every New York City nightclub playing with my band.
Wow.
And every festival that we could be a part of. I started writing music around that time, even a little bit before. Learning all my instruments. It's been a long and tiring process, but a very rewarding process.
So your family are all musicians, right? So like Dad, you must have been, you know, probably cracking the musical whip a little bit.
Not so much. I was also just like Jessica. Our stories are so similar. Since I was 14, I was a professional musician. And I think it was just, not that we pushed it on them. I mean, I've been through the mill in the rock and roll world,
yeah.
and I know the heartbreaks and what it entailed. And it really wasn't something that I'd want for my kids, because it's a rough lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so I think it was more that it just naturally happened, because my wife is also a singer. And the kids, Jessica and her sister Samantha, were always surrounded by music. It just happened.
Yeah.
And they'd see us playing, and next thing you know, she's banging on a little toy piano, and it just kind of went from there.
Organically.
It wasn't something that we pushed. Like I said, if I had the opportunity
Yeah.
to say, maybe you should go into something else, because it's a very, very tough business, but she did it. And
That's great. So you are you're about to embark on another PBS series. We'll talk more specifically about that. But the tour that you just came off of was pretty major. I mean, you were performing along people like Brad Paisley, Lady Antebellum, to name a few. That must have been incredible.
It was the most exciting experience of my life.
Yeah.
You really can't prepare for it. Like, I knew what we were getting into when they asked us to do it, but you really don't know what that feels like until you're up on that stage in front of all those people and seeing your name next to the people that you've idolized and look up to, you know, my whole life. Even in Montana, my dressing room was Jessica Lynn, Montgomery Gentry. It was such a trip. Like, I kept having to pinch myself, like, is this really happening?
Oh, so do you feel, when something like that happens, and, you know, I want to know how those pieces sort of fall into place, but when that occurs, do you kind of say, I've made it? Or is there still a long road ahead?
To an extent.
Yeah.
I think it's just all part of the story and my journey. It was definitely a big step in the right direction, but there's still a long way to go. Yeah, I'm a very determined person, and I hope to accomplish what Shania Twain and Taylor Swift have accomplished in the business by just being major crossover artists and artists that people of all ages and ethnicities and just from all over the world can really connect with. And I try to do that with my music, make it just as as widespread and meaningful to as many people as I can. But there's always more to do and more to learn and more to grow, really.
What you said, about making it, I don't think you ever get to a point where you say, I've made it. Because it's always a work in progress, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter what level of success you're at. Now I've got to top that. If you want to stay current and you want to still be in the public eye, you have to keep competing with yourself and improving and improving. So it's never, I don't think anybody would ever sit back and say, oh, I've made it. I mean, of course, there's that, we think that, but it's, you can never stop. And it's always, it just seems like we just came off the major tour and we were right headlong into a new television special. The minute this is done, we're into next year's tour. And it's just trying to kind of keep things
keep the
moving.
momentum.
Exactly.
So speaking of the television special, tell me a little bit more about that. I know there's a show happening at the Paramount in Peekskill, right? And you are going to be filming that for PBS, and this is the second one, right?
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
We did Jessica's first special, which was Jessica Lynn This Much Fun, live from the winery at St. George, which is the historic winery right here on Route 6 in Mohegan Lake.
Right. Oh, wonderful.
They converted it into a beautiful performance venue and winery. And we did that show, and that's now nationwide on PBS at the moment. So that kind of really got the ball rolling, opened the door for this tour, and the success of that was just a natural progression. Let's do the next one bigger and better. Jessica has a new studio album that will also be rolling out around the holidays. So she had a wealth of new material. Some of it we premiered on the tour, and it really went over well. We got a great response from it. So that's what we do. We do television, and let's just do this one bigger and better. And then we happen to meet Jim.
Say, yes.
The first stop back in New York from our tour. We
Yeah.
literally came from, I think, Montana back to New York.
Yeah.
And the first stop was at the Bull and Barrel in Brewster. And they were doing a benefit for Jim's organization, United for the Troops. And we just loved it. We loved everything about them. It's a family-run operation, which basically Jessica's band is a family-run operation. So we kind of tuned into that. We did a little research on what it is exactly that they do, and we just loved it. Our whole family are veterans from World War II right down through Vietnam. So our servicemen are something that's very near to our hearts, and we just fell in love with Jim and what he did.
So Jim, I'm sorry. Jim, I just want to give you a couple of minutes to talk about your wonderful organization.
It started 8 years ago. My son joined the Army. He soon was deployed to Iraq. And of course, as a family, we started sending him care packages. He was sharing them with all his friends, the men and women he was serving with. But he soon told us that there were so many men and women over there that got nothing. They had no families, or the families couldn't afford to send them anything. So we send over 100 self-addressed envelopes that they can send back for free. And we said, what do you need? And they started telling us. Some of them was funny, foot powder for your son's stinky feet, and it went on. But they were always asking something for somebody else. And one of the things that just hit me right up front, they were asking for Flintstone vitamins. And I said, that's great. It's hot over there. It's a chewable vitamin. It's good. They weren't asking for those vitamins for themselves. They were asking for the families and the kids over there. So we were soon humbled, and United for the Troops was born. So we wound up going outside of churches and supermarkets and just collecting items people were giving to us. And over the years, it just grew into a not-for-profit. And now we've sent over 9,000 boxes.
That's
incredible. And when I say we, I mean our community. And it is a family-run organization. And thank you for saying the founder of United for the Troops. However, I'm a co-founder. My wife and I run United for the Troops with our family still. And it's very big, but very small and tight. And we like to keep it very tight. So we guard what we do because we want it to be very beneficial to our community.
That's great. So part of the proceeds from the event at the Paramount will go to United of the Troops, right?
That's correct.
People, you've got to buy tickets.
There's also going to be some in-house things. There's going to be a special raffle. We have a company, a Guitar Center, which is a wonderful musical chain throughout the country,
Yep.
donated a guitar to us.
Oh.
So Jessica's going to sign the guitar, and the
Oh,
entire
cool.
band will sign it as well. And it'll be at Jim's display that night, and you can purchase raffle tickets for it, and they're going to hopefully do
Oh,
good with the raffle.
that's
raffling off that
exciting.
You
guitar.
bet.
Great, love that. Okay, so going back to you, Peter, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm not talking to Jessica at all, but
That's okay. I like to listen. I always have to talk.
We're going to get back to you, don't worry. I have to call out your dad's very interesting history. When we first talked and met, he told me that he was actually a New York City police officer, which is pretty cool. So I'm just interested to know, how does one go from being a cop to then juggling fatherhood, being an entertainment manager, being a producer in your own right, you're an entrepreneur, as well as the bassist in your daughter's band? How do you juggle all this stuff?
Not very well sometimes. No. I have a great team around me. My wife, of course, is my partner that helps run all of Jessica's business. And Jessica herself takes a very, very big hand in what she does. But it was an interesting progression for me. I was a rock and roller earlier on in life. I was with a semi-successful band. And then, of course, in rock and roll, things all fall apart, and it did. So I needed to get a real job, as they say. I became a New York City police officer. Loved every minute of it. And when I retired from that, I was fortunate enough to go right back into music. I'm a new age composer of contemporary classical music. And that did very well for me. And that spawned a PBS special for myself that Jessica was a part of at 16 years old. She was actually featured in that show.
Wonderful.
And from there, it just ballooned. I started producing other artists, and when Jessica was ready to do this, we said, let's just throw everything we have behind her for the moment. So we kind of stopped everything else we were doing and spent the last 3 years basically on Jessica Lynn. And thank God it all,
It's all worked out.
it's hitting right now,
Knock
which is
on
great.
wood.
Yes, exactly.
Which brings me to the next question. Do you think that you have it, you have what it takes to take it all the way, to be the next Taylor Swift?
It's a
Will
hard
this happen?
question.
How long do you think it'll take? Because we're waiting.
I think, and it's something that I always talk about in my live shows. I think that you really truly can accomplish anything that you set your mind to, and that you work hard for, and that you are passionate about. And I think that's what sets people apart from others. And I am almost determined to a fault, where I will sit for 12 hours if I have to until I finish what I set out to do. And that's the reason why I believe that I could do it. Not because I'm more talented than anybody else or anything more than anybody else. It's just that I think that heart that certain people have is what really can take you the distance.
The determination and the stick-to-itiveness, right?
And I'm not saying it just because I'm her dad, but she is probably one of the hardest working kids I've ever met in my life. There were nights when we were prepping for the tour, and it's 3:30 in the morning, and we're both can't see straight, sitting in front of computer screens, putting things together. And I'd have to force her to go to sleep. I'd say, I'm shutting the lights, go to bed. You have to be in one piece for the tour, but that's the way she is.
No, that's wonderful. So to sort of tee up the show, just to generate a little bit more excitement and to kind of give folks a feeling for what's going to happen there.
Okay, so a lot of local people, when we got back from the tour, we were doing local fairs and festivals and some other local shows. We went back to the winery where we filmed the special. This is going to be very different than anything anyone has ever seen from us so far.
Oh, okay.
When you have a venue like the Paramount Theater, you take full advantage of it. So, I mean, we're going to have set pieces. There are going to be dancers. There are going to be surprises throughout the show.
Great.
Choreography. I mean, we are really putting a lot of time and effort into the show to make it a spectacle, like something
wonderful.
that you would see on a really big stage.
Madison Square Garden.
And we're fortunate enough that we have the new owners of the Paramount, Red House Entertainment, are absolutely wonderful. They're doing a great job with the theater, Ray Wilson,
good to me.
Jonathan, and Kurt. And they're really helping. They bring a tremendous amount of expertise. Kurt's company, CP Communications, will be doing all the filming. And it's just, we have the most amazing technical team doing this. So it's going to really be tenfold what the other special was. It's
And in
gonna be
terms
something
of
really unique.
once you wrap up the production, what's the timing then in terms of when can we see it on public television?
If everything goes well, and I say if everything, because anything's
Yeah.
possible in the
Yeah.
world of entertainment, but if everything goes according to schedule, we're filming September 26th and 27th is the live part of the program. We'd like to have this on the air by Christmas to roll out with Jessica's new record. So it'll be one major push, a brand new studio album with 12 new tracks on it, and a brand new television special. That will carry us into next year, and we'll be touring in support of this television special and that new record, all of
Wonderful.
2015.
Very cool. So I have another question that actually I didn't tell you I was going to ask.
That's okay.
Don't worry. No. I'm just curious, sometimes, especially you're local, and a lot of people know you, maybe hopefully some of them might be watching and say, hey, I went to school with Jessica, If there is one thing that you'd want folks to know who maybe are acquainted with you and think they know you but don't really know you, what would you say, what would you want them to know about you that they don't?
Ooh. How do I answer that? I guess the most important thing to me about what I do and the feedback that we've gotten throughout the tour, which was the best thing that I could have ever heard, was that I have a positive message that I'm trying to spread. And a lot of my music empowers women, it empowers young girls, it makes people feel good about themselves. It's not the going out, partying, drinking country music that's been on the radio for the last few years. It's something fresh, it's new, and it's made for people to feel good.
When I talked to you, Peter, I think you mentioned that fewer women seem to be, holding rank among country music artists.
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
It's kind of secular, where if you go back to the 80s, you were dominated by women. You had Reba McEntire, the Judds. It was women everywhere. We're really kind of corralling all the music and country music. Then it changed, and now it's what they call this bro country, which is your Luke Bryan, Chase Rice, Brantley Gilbert. It's all about, trucks and down by the
macho.
riverside, my tight jeans, and
Yeah.
That girl. But it is coming back, and I think the timing is just right, and we've been very fortunate. For us, it was interesting to do this tour because we're from New York, and it's very easy to be a big fish in your pond, your little pond.
Yeah.
But now we were actually taking the show and Jessica across the country into the real heart of country music territory. And the people out west, they live, eat, sleep, and breathe country music, and they can smell a phony, know
Yeah.
if it's sincere.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting. I didn't know how we were going to be received. And you're up on stage with Sammy Kershaw, Montgomery Gentry, Jake Owen. These people are icons in country music, and Brad Paisley, and they loved her. So to hear that instant validation back when you see 20,000 people screaming for you and they're dancing and they're just loving it, okay, we're doing the right thing. We're kind of on the
Feels
right.
good.
We're on the
Yeah.
right track
Yes.
here.
And to speak on that,
Yeah.
there were days when I was the only female on the bill.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which it felt really cool, but it was also really eye-opening. Like, come on, ladies, like, where are you? And to speak on that, the title track of this special, it's called Taken Over. And it's a song I wrote about that
Oh,
it's time for the
wonderful.
women to come back in and take over.
Good.
So we're doing a really special thing with that number in the show, too, that's really going to catch people off guard, I think.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what this whole special is about, like time for the women to come back in. And
So how important do you think is video going to be for you moving forward? I mean, aside from your official production, like the MTV days obviously are changed,
Yeah.
but video is so important, I think, to entertainers now.
yeah, people want to connect in a way more than just listening. I feel like everything is so visual now. I always say that you listen to music with your eyes
Yes.
these days, and especially in my show, we put a lot of time into making the show something fun to watch. So especially in my case, I think it is important for people to see what my band and I do. And it makes the music more meaningful as well to get to see it and listen to it.
There's something interesting along what you just said. It's a statistic now that the #1 way kids and people are finding new music, it's not through the radio anymore. It's through YouTube.
Yep.
So they're sitting there and they're Googling something or they're looking for new music and they're watching it. They're watching music videos.
Yeah.
So it's no longer like when we were younger, you'd hear it on the radio and I'd
Yeah.
run out and I'd buy that record.
It's the whole package.
They go right there and they look at it. One thing with Jessica, I just want to tell a quick story if I can. Her music does have a very positive message and it is very empowering to young women. We were in Colorado and there's a number that she wrote called Pretty. And it's a beautiful song. It's a very delicate, stripped down tune. And it's all about young women learning to live in their own skin and not comparing themselves to everybody else that is so pretty with the perfect hair, the perfect jeans. And this tour was the first time we actually played it out live. So it was perfect. I think we were in Denver and Jessica just did a very stripped down moment with this. She just took the guitar and played this all by herself to this crowded room full of people just to see what kind of a response it would get. And there was a woman in her 20s, I guess, 5 feet in front of her, that just started crying her eyes out a few minutes into the song. And we all noticed this and tuned into it. And right away after she went over and hugged Jessica and said, that song, whatever that was that you just sang, really spoke to me. That is my story. And so right there, that's all you need. It was one of those magic moments, and that will be a special highlight of this show. We're doing a really nice production number to that particular song.
To be able to do that for people is what I'm the most excited about.
Yeah.
To do.
Yeah.
Making music.
Yeah, that's fulfilling.
And just even to get back to Jim quick,
Yes.
what I also would like people to know about the
Yes.
show is that there's going to be a very special tribute piece to the troops that we've
good.
been working really hard on. So it's going to be amazing and really heartfelt, and I'm super excited. So even just to come to see that, I think it's
And
worth it.
don't forget, active military personnel, anybody on active duty right now, gets admitted to the show free with their ID card. So they just go to the box office anytime between now and then or even that night. It may be sold out, so I'd advise getting there earlier, but if you do have your active service card, you go to the Paramount and you'll get a free ticket for the show.
Excellent. And I think we have a graphic that will show all the websites for your site, Jessica Lynn, as well as the Paramount site and your organization, United for the Troops. So take a look at that. Is there any events, Jim, that the audience should know about that's coming up that they might want to take part in?
This is September, and so we're going to be starting Operation Defend the Holidays. That's how we started out, around the holidays, because we were getting requests to send things over. It's our biggest time of the year. It started out for one event. It's 7 days a week, all year long now, that we're able to do this with our community. So this September, we're going to be going into the schools. We'll be doing presentations, or different organizations will be sponsoring us, and we collect the items. And then we sort them, we box them, all in one day at the American Legion. Over 200 volunteers are there. And when people come, a lot of the kids come and they say, I'm here for community service, what do I have to do? I can only spend 45 minutes. And they're there for 3-4 hours, and their parents will say, what happened? I said, stick around and see. It's that giving, it takes away from what they're there for something and they wind up giving. And that's why my attraction with Jessica Lynn and her family is a great fit for United for the Troops, because my family is also a giving family. We're givers. So it's in the same wheelhouse. And community service is so important to us. So we have young kindergarten kids there. We have senior citizens that are homebound that do work for us. We have families coming, working with us. So it's a wonderful, wonderful event. And it's coming up. It'll be all on our website.
Okay, perfect.
And it's getting bigger all the time.
Great.
So thank you for asking about that.
Sure. So unitedforthetroups.org, JessicaLynnMusic.org, right? And then we have the ParamountHudsonValley.com. So those are the 3 sites that you should check out. We're just about out of time. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank
You're
you.
very welcome. It was a pleasure. Before we sign off, just as a reminder, please visit gooddayhudsonvalley.com and give us your comments, Let us know your tips, ideas, guest suggestions. We aim to please, and it's really your show, not my show. So the more information and feedback you can give me, the better the show will be. Thank you again for joining us, and have a great day, Hudson Valley.